All right, what's up, guys and girls? How's it going? As you guys know, they released a little comment about Dragon Bones last week. Today is Monday, so today is Patch Notes Day. So they released the patch notes today. Um, as always, this is the first time I'm reading it. I'm going to go through it, for the first time. I don't know what's in here yet. I don't know the good stuff or the bad stuff. So what they've touched and what they haven't touched. So I guess the reaction's going to be in real time. So I guess we'll just have to see what it is. Dragon Bones, DLC game back, 2 new dungeons. We'll just start scrolling through everything. 2 new dungeons, Fang Lair, Scale Collar Peak. Fang Lair and Scale Collar Peak are 4-player dungeons which can be reached via Bankerai and Stormhaven. Okay, both dungeons include blah, blah, blah. You can obtain unique item sets, including 2 new Undaunted Monster Mass sets, only available within the dungeons. Unique skin, hat, several titles, housing items. Cool. New collectibles. You get a Priest Mask, trophy, Necromancer skin, Scale Collar Peak Challenger. Okay. Worm Wizard. Okay. New item sets. There are 8 new item sets available from the 2 dungeons, Scale Collar Peak and Fang Lair. Each dungeon has 1 light armor, 1 medium armor, 1 heavy, and 1 monster mass set to acquire. Fang Lair, the light armor set. Calurian's Legacy. 2-piece spell crit, 3-piece spell power, 4-piece spell crit. Okay, so pretty good damage set. 5-piece. When you deal critical damage with a single target magicka ability, you launch a fire, ice, shock, or disease ball at your target that deals 12,900 damage and applies a status effect. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Single target magicka ability. Okay. That's going to have to be one of those tested ones. I mean, that's a pretty high tooltip. I mean, 12,900 is nothing to scoff at. Once every 10 seconds. Okay. So just, there's not a % chance to deal critical damage, just every 10 seconds when you deal critical damage? This might be pretty, I mean, single target magic ability every 10 seconds and it crits, so... Okay. Alright, Trappings of Invigoration. Stamina recovery, max stamina recovery. When you cast an ability while under 33% stamina, you restore 9,000 stamina. This effect can occur once every 1 minute. Okay, so this is basically the Warlock version for stam builds. I'm not against this. They just came out and said that they weren't going to do this crossover of sets. They weren't going to do stuff like this. Stam was its own thing and Magicka was its own. This is basically Warlock for stam classes. It's a pretty valuable set. That turns out to roughly, if I remember correctly, if it is the same thing as Warlock. I mean, I can do the math really quick if you guys want to see it, but we'll make this easy. So we have 9,000 stamina, and then we get that every 1 minute, so we divide this by 30 seconds to get the recovery. Yeah, so this turns out to be 300 stamina recovery for the 5-piece set. Yeah, so pretty strong 5-piece set for recovery. This means you can amp more damage into your build. I could see a lot of dodge rolling builds using this, maybe using like this plus Sench or whatever. I don't know. I think it's going to be very class and build specific, but it's going to be one of the better recovery sets right out of the bat. So yeah. Ulfnar's Favor. Heavy, max health, magic recovery for the 2 and 3-piece. Oh, the 3-piece is magic recovery and stamina recovery. Okay. Healing Taken. Increase the magic or stamina or heavy attacks restored by 30%. Wow. Max health, magic and stamina recovery. So that's already like similar to Shackle Breaker or whatever. Healing Taken's very nice. And then increase the magic or stamina, your heavy attacks restored by 30%. Wow. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool idea. I don't know. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm thinking and I'm not talking. That's a lot of return on your heavy attacks. That goes back to the days before they nerfed heavy armor. Um, you know, when everybody could just sustain ridiculously. Like that's going to be a huge heavy attack return. You could stack that with the VMA one-handed shield to get more. So you could actually just get a shit ton of stamina recovery off your heavy attacks. The only problem with this set is, you know, you are set. I mean, as a heavy armor build, you already have resistances. You're already tanky, you know, and so you want to then build in damage and sustain. And you know, this would technically be your sustain set, so the next one would be damage. Like the classes I consider using this for, I think this would be a downgrade from what I'm using. You know, because I wouldn't be running this for the recovery. You know, because I already have another recovery set. I don't know. Like it's good. I just don't know if it's good enough, I guess. Thurvokin, the monster set, max health. When a nearby enemy damages you, summon a growing pool of desecrated bile for 8 seconds. Enemies in the bile receive 430 disease damage every 1 second and are afflicted with minor maim and minor defile, reducing their damage done and healing received by 15%. It's expected to occur once every 8 seconds. Wow. This is pretty strong. Disease damage, as you guys know, disease damage also does major defile. It has a chance to do major defile. There's other ways you can get major defile in this game. Reverberating Bash, Incapacitating Strike, and Durox Bane all give major defile. So you can get major defile that way, or you can just run this set and you can say, okay, well, we're going to give you minor maim, which is 15% less damage. You get minor defile as well, which is 15% less healing. And then we can potentially give you major defile with disease damage. If we run reverb, then we can have 30, so then you have 45%, not counting the CP tree. And then we could run Fasala's Guile, and we can just really, like, this would just be nasty on a few tankier classes. Like Stam DK, this is going to be pretty gross on Stamplar. I already see fitting this on a Stamplar build. Like, this is just going to be really nasty on a Stamplar. So I'm going to pull up. I'm sorry, I'm going to pull this up on the side, guys. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure Fasala's is not minor defile. So I'm almost certain it's not. So all these will stack. Oh no, it is minor defile. Okay, just kidding. Okay, so take that away. This will give minor defile when it affects them, reducing their healing received by 15%. You could run this. You could run reverb, so you get the major and minor. So you get your CC also gives you that. When you take damage, it's also going to give you the minor, and then that allows you to run a lot more damage. So all these defile builds out there with Durox Bane are going to get a lot stronger when all of a sudden they can run, you know, 2 5-piece sets plus this monster set. Yeah, I can easily see, like, this is going to be a thing. I'll probably be putting this on my Stamplar and my Stam DK, and yeah, I mean, reverb plus this is just going to be really nasty for anybody that, you know, comes into your house, I guess. So this is going to be worth having. Scale Collar Peak, Jorvold's Guidance, Magic Recovery, Healing Done. Increase the duration of all major buffs, minor buffs, and damage shields you apply to yourself and allies by 40%. Wow. Okay, so this is a light armor set. Increase the duration of all major buffs, minor buffs, and damage shields you apply to yourself and allies by 40%. So this could already fit in on, like, a Magicasork. You could put this on a Magicasork with Shacklebreaker, and so this would be your sustain set. I wonder if you can backbar this. I'm guessing you can. You should be able to, because so that 1 bar you'll have the duration. If you can only backbar it, you can run the 3 jewelry of this, the 1 body. You can run the resto of this, and you should have the increased shield duration on like a Sork. And then you could switch to your other bar, and then you can run your 5 Shacklebreaker or your 5 Julianos or whatever. 40% duration would be 8-second shields, roughly. 9 seconds would be 50%. So roughly 8-second shields, which is the sweet spot. Plus major buffs, so your major sorcery would last longer. This would work out really well on a DK as well, since you're running Igneous. Your Igneous, I could see this being kind of effective in group play. You're a Magic, a DK running this set, and you pop Igneous, and it's not that you're giving them a big damage shield. It's that they can't be crit while the damage shield's up, and so when you're running into a group, not having that burst damage from a bomber is kind of valuable. That's why this would actually be pretty cool, because then you could have it for 8 seconds. You have your healers and all that. Like this is, I could definitely see this being a thing. I think this is definitely a set. I think it's a set that has its place in PvP. Yeah, 40% is pretty cool. Plague Slinger, 2-piece weapon damage, 3-piece max health, 4-piece weapon damage. Okay, I like this so far. 5, when you take damage, you summon a Skeever Corpse, okay, which will launch a poison ball that deals 5,160 poison damage every 1.5 seconds at the nearest enemy for 6 seconds. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. That's pretty nasty. So it's not a percent chance. So it doesn't say when you take damage you have a percent chance to summon a Skeever Corpse. It says when you take damage. So for 6 seconds, then you have a 9-second cooldown. The next time you take damage, this is going to do it again. That's a lot of burst. 5,160 poison damage. That is a lot of burst every 1.5 seconds. So you have 4 hits on this to your closest enemy. Wow. And it's poison damage, so it has a chance to proc the dot. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying this set. This set looks interesting as hell. So it's kind of like the Crows set, but it's poison damage. But yeah, the no percent chance is what really makes this, I think, kind of strong. And obviously weapon damage, and max health. Like, it's a medium armor build. You're going to build in health somewhere anyways. So like the max health bonus isn't that big of a deal. You want around 20k health anyways. So this actually kind of helps you. And that looks like a pretty nasty proc. So we'll have to farm this and test this when it comes out. Curse of the Doyle-Mish. That's already the best name that they've come out with, so this set better be good. Max health, spell damage, weapon damage. Okay, so it's a crossover set. When you hit a taunted monster with a fully charged heavy attack, or any enemy that is stunned or immobilized with a fully charged heavy attack, you deal an additional 12,000 physical damage. Holy shit. Yeah, this is the best set. So yeah, this is the best set. I said it better be, and it looks like it is. 12,000 physical damage off of a heavy attack. Yeah, so basically where this fits on your build is, your cooldown for CCs is roughly about 6 seconds, roughly. And so when you're fighting somebody, you're going to do your damage, you're going to apply that. When you have your chance to CC them, they're going to be on the ground, stunned. So that stuns them, it puts them on the ground. You can immobilize them. You could immobilize in other ways. There's other, like trap, for instance. So trap would do this as well. Immobilized or stunned. In-cap would put them on the ground as well. That is just so dirty. 12,000 physical. So your heavy attacks already do a bunch of damage. You're just buffing your damage so much off of this. DKs get 40% more as well off of heavy attacks. Like, you could potentially turn this into a heavy attack build. When your CC comes off a cooldown, you can do this again. So basically every time you CC them, you can do this 12,000 proc. That seems pretty strong. And I know it's a fully charged heavy attack, but at the same time, like, if they're stunned on the ground for a half second, or 2 seconds, you're going to be able to get a heavy attack off that's going to do like your typical 5,000, this 5 to whatever 1,000 it's going to do after movability, and then your ultimate. That's nasty. That is really, really nasty. Holy crap. All right, so I guess we're going in a Scale Collar Peak because I want all those. Let's see what the The monster set is Zan. Spell crit. When you deal critical damage with a light or heavy attack to a nearby enemy, a beam of fire will connect you to your enemy. The beam deals 3440 flame damage every 1 second for 5 seconds. Every second, this damage increases by 50%. The beam is broken if the enemy moves 10 meters away from you. This effect can occur every 15 seconds. Okay, so it starts off as 3440, and then it turns to 5,000, and then 50% more, it's 7,500, and then after that it's like 10,000, and then the final beam is a 15,000 proc. So is it scaling 50% more off of this 3440, or is it scaling exponentially? So it'll be 3440 and then 5K, then 7,500. Like, is it going to scale like that? I'm guessing it should scale like that with how it's written, but you know, either this is a strong set or this is a really, really strong set that a lot of people are going to bitch about because it's ridiculous set. We deal critical damage with a light or heavy attack to a nearby enemy. So, alright, so there's two ways this can work that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Number one, you run your Magic a DK build instead of dual wield or whatever. You can do dual wield, you can do sword and board, but you use light or heavy attacks as well. I think a staff would be better in this instance, so that way like your light attacks are proccing, you're doing more damage with your light attacks, you know. Sometimes like when you're fighting, you're just wasting time with light attacks, so maybe using a Destro staff for that, so you get your range. 10 meter range is a lot, so you don't CC them. This is what you do when you fight somebody with this set, is you do not CC them. So what you want to do is, you know, you do your typical weaves, you put them in talons, you do your light attack, whips, whatever. When this procs, they're going to try and get away. So you're gonna lock them in talons, and then they're going to dodge roll out of it because it's going to start doing a shit ton of damage. Once they dodge roll, you fossilize them, so now they can't break it. And so now they're taking at least 2 to 3 seconds of this damage. They break it, they have to either dodge roll again, you try and put them in talons again right after the fossilized, and you hopefully they consume this entire thing. That's really strong. That's going to be a lot of damage. You're going to make a lot of people very upset with this monster set. It's not going to be as strong as against like Kitey, Stam Nightblades. You know, if you use Shadow Image well, you'll be okay. Sorks with Streak, you're gonna have to streak twice. Like when this procs, you're gonna want to get the fuck out because this is just gonna eat your shields with everything else. The other way you can do this, I think, is with a Magic a Nightblade. So you do your heavy attack from stealth, so you get your guaranteed crit with your light or heavy attack. The beam procs on them within 10 seconds. You then hit them with your cripple, which snares them and keeps them in range. You also get your increased movement speed. You also have a gap closer with Lotus Fan. I mean, you could easily, you could run a dual wield build with this. So a dual wield Magic a Nightblade build, you know, light attack, concealed weapon from stealth. It already fits with it. You get this proc, you then cripple them. They try to get away, and you Lotus Fan, and you just stay within their range. Like, it's just, yeah, people are going to be really mad about this monster set, I think. I think those are the two ways I would use it. I think Magic a Nightblade and Magic a DK this fits very well with. Not that Sork can't use it because you have Streak and everything. It's just, you know, sometimes you're just going to be playing for more range, whereas those classes you can play up close and personal, and you'll be able to proc this a little bit more. Yeah, that's pretty nasty. Morrowind Battlegrounds. 2 new maps have been added. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to try. More Khazgur. There we go. Nailed it. And then Deeping Drome. All right. Outfits. The new outfit system is now available and allows you the freedom to customize the visual appearance of your character. We already talked about this. You know, if you guys want to go in here, I'm not going to read all this because we're already 20 minutes in. I want to get to the balance changes. So, a bunch of good stuff talking about outfits, dyes, converting, furnishing stations, home storage, new homes, master it updates, finishing updates, level up the advisor. So this is the new advisor for the low-level players. So gives you rewards now to help you move along. I think these are very useful for new people starting out because you don't know where to start. You don't know what you need to be working on. This kind of gives you a direction. I think that's very cool. Champion point cap has been raised by 30 points, so 720 champion points. All right. 32-bit client removal, crafting and economy, housing, art and animation, audio, combat, and gameplay. Monster abilities, Kaguri, okay. Art and animation, monsters, dungeons, Alliance War and PVP, Battlegrounds. Battlegrounds are once again no CP for all levels. I think that's a good change. Talked about that before. I just think CP is just not in a good spot right now for CP Battlegrounds, so I think that's a good change. Decrease the respawn timer for player character to 20 seconds from 30 seconds for Chaos Ball in Alt Karak. Okay. Increase the Alliance Port rewards for your team's placement in Battlegrounds. That equates to the following. 100% increase in AP if your team comes in first place, or a new total of 12,000. Second place, 11,000. And third place is 10. So you actually get pretty good AP for doing Battlegrounds. Cool. That's a decent amount. All right. Art and animation, audio, combat, and gameplay. Warden changes. All right. Green Balance Healing Seed. Reduce the cost of this ability and its morphs by approximately 28%. Okay. Warden Bug fixes Animal Companion. Swarm fixed an issue where this ability and its morphs were not being considered damage over time effects for various passive bonuses or procs. Yep. So that was counting as a direct damage effect, which was kind of interesting. And not in a good way. It helped you allocate CP better, but yeah, just that needed to be adjusted. Exploration and itemization, quests and zones, arts and animation. Why is this not... Why is it not a little bit more organized? Combat balance. Okay. Area of effect abilities now deal full damage to all targets hit instead of having a damage penalty hit after hitting 7 or more targets. Secondary effects from those area effect abilities, snares, stuns, are all still capped at 6 targets. Thank you, Zenimax. Thank you so much. If Fangrush was still playing this game, which maybe he will when he sees this, he's going to lose his shit. They just removed AOE caps. After 2 years, they removed AOE caps. Wow. We want to encourage more tactical group play where players are encouraged to spread out instead of stacking in a tight ball. We're still evaluating this aspect of AOE caps, and we'll make adjustments in the future as necessary. This is a good change. This is a stupid mechanic to... I'm sorry, that's going to be the worst way to say it. It's been a very poor mechanic for a very long time, that all you had to do to take less damage was to ball up. And, you know, these groups became unkillable the bigger they got. So this is very useful. This is going to encourage more skill gameplay. Obviously, the big groups are going to be stronger because they're bigger, you know, but they don't need built-in advantages as well. So I like that a lot. Area of effect snare abilities being capped at 6 targets, that's fine. They're still going to take the damage, you know, the snares. So your permafrost and stuff will only affect 6 targets. Okay. Cast time interrupt changes. This is what I'm really excited about. We've updated the rules for interrupting cast time abilities to provide a better opportunity for you to successfully cast them and clear counterplay for enemies to interrupt them. Reducing the movement speed penalty allows you to more easily position yourself while casting and makes those abilities more fluid with the fast pace of combat. Allowing crowd control immunity to also grant interrupt immunity removes the gameplay loop of trying to cast an ability and having it be interrupted repeatedly. The 3-second lockout period gives you a chance to capitalize on a crucial interrupt without allowing the enemy simply to immediately recast the ability you just interrupted. So thank you. Thank you a lot for this. So cast time, abilities of the cast time are like Dark Flare, Snipe, Radiant, and Revives. So the most troublesome skills when you're trying to 1vx bad players, you know, there's always that Magic Templar that's just putting the beam on you, waiting for somebody else to do damage to where they can execute you. That's always existed. Now you can interrupt them, and now they have a cooldown before they can hit you with that skill again. I have had, you know, the most frustrating one that I can remember is I was trying to 1v5 these guys on my Magic and Nightblade, and I killed the first 2, and their tank went into just revive mode, and I kept trying to bash them, but, you know, I'm on a Magic and Nightblade, I only have like 14,000 stamina. I can't keep bashing the guy. So he got the revive off. I didn't have another way to interrupt. I ended up dying because literally there's nothing I could do as a magical class with my specific loadout. Like I would have had to run Crushing Shock in order to kill that group. So I think that's useful. Rebalance and globally updated all cast time and channeled abilities along with the rule set for interrupting those abilities. Reduce the movement speed penalty while casting or channeling an ability to a 25% penalty from 50%. Melee cast time and channeled abilities, uppercut, puncturing strikes, and some ranged abilities, rapid fire, are still exceptions to this rule and allow you to move at full speed. Okay? When an ability is interrupted, it is now put on a 3-second cooldown where it cannot be used. Melee cast time and channeled abilities, uppercut, puncturing strikes, etc. Ultimate abilities, soul strike, rite of passage, and heavy attacks are still exceptions to this rule and cannot be interrupted. Okay. Makes sense. You haven't been able to interrupt them for a while. No point in trying to interrupt them now. So, but yeah, the biggest ones are Dark Flare, Snipe, Radiant, and Revives that I can think of off the top of my head. There's a few more, I'm sure, but those are the big ones. When a cast time or channeled ability is interrupted, you will be staggered, stunned, and set off balance. After the stun ends, you gain crowd control immunity. Crowd control immunity now grants immunity to all interrupt effects. Crowd control immunity. After a cast time or channeled ability is interrupted, you will be immune to any future interrupts until crowd control immunity wears off. Crowd control immunity now grants immunity to all interrupt effects. Okay, so if you CC break and you have crowd control immunity, you can then try to revive. And so for 6 seconds you have a chance to do it until you come off of that, and then you can interrupt. Okay. I'm not sure exactly how that's worded. Maybe somebody can help me out there. I'm a little confused by that wording. You will now see the red interruptible telegraph on enemy player characters if they are casting or channeling an interruptible ability and are not crowd control immune. All right, cool. I think that's a great change. I think all this is a great change. A skill like Dark Flare is very powerful. It's the strongest hitting skill in the game. Snipe is another one of the. Snipe is also up there, but they both have cast time. So having that counterplay for something that hits so hard I think is very useful. Synergy updates. The global changes to synergies will result in them being more responsive and more rewarding to use. We've updated and fixed numerous bugs for obtaining the synergy prompt and took synergies off global cooldown so that you can immediately use them as soon as you see that prompt. Synergies now all have a distinct visual effect to clearly communicate where and when a synergy is available. Finally, many synergies were significantly buffed to ensure that it always feels worth it to use them, which you can read more about below. Great. Yeah, let's see what they are. Remove synergies from the global cooldown, and they can now be activated while using other abilities. Okay. Synergies now have a shared 1-second cooldown with other synergies. As synergies are now off the global cooldown, this change was necessary to prevent synergy bombs where players could activate multiple synergies in the same second. Okay. Increase the cooldown for each individual synergy to 30 seconds from 20 seconds. Okay. With synergies being off the global cooldown, this change was implemented to reduce the amount of potential synergy spam you can receive. Okay. Synergies now display a unique, prominent visual effect indicating if a synergy is available and can be used by your character. This visual effect will be hidden if you're on cooldown for that particular synergy or are otherwise unable to use synergies. Updated the tooltips for synergy abilities to better describe their effects, and the name of the synergy is now highlighted in the tooltip. Synergies will now grant the synergy prompt to the 3 closest allies to the center of the synergy, up from only 1 ally. If 1 ally uses the synergy, the prompt will be removed from the other 2 allies. Perfect. Fix an issue where numerous synergies were granting the synergy prompt to the furthest ally instead of the closest, and were granting the synergy prompt to pets and NPCs instead of players. Okay. Fix an issue where you could have multiple synergy prompts on you at a time, causing the prompt to fluctuate back and forth between competing synergies. Fix an issue where the Supernova, Gravity Crush, and Hidden Refresh synergies had a magica cost. Some individual synergies have received additional fine-tuning and rebalancing. Blood Altar. Increase the radius of minor lifesteal debuff applied by this ability and its morphs to 28 meters from 8. That is a huge range change. Slightly adjusted the visual effect. Minor lifesteal debuff applied by this ability and its morphs will no longer aggro monsters. Alright. Blood Funnel, Blood Feast, Blood Altar morphs, increased radius. Bone Wall and Spinal Surge. The prompt will now be available Up to 6 seconds after Bone Shield is cast, even if the Bone Shield caster damage shield is removed. Grants a damage shield for 100% of your max health for 6 seconds instead of 60% of your max health for 10 seconds. We've shortened the duration of this damage shield to match the duration of all our damage shields in the game, but increased the value of the shield to compensate. That is a big damage shield. It's a pretty large damage shield. That's going to be interesting. If an ally uses the synergy and applies a damage shield to you, you will now also be placed on cooldown for that synergy. Spinal Surge synergy from the Bone Surge morph now grants major vitality instead of minor vitality. Okay. Wow. Wow. Okay. So Bone Wall might be useful. Or Spinal Surge. Spinal Surge giving major vitality is pretty crazy. And so it's going to be over the 6 second period. Wow. Okay. So they increase the shield. And then on top of that, they give you major vitality. Alright, Combustion and Healing Combustion, Necrotic Orb and Morphs, fix an issue where the synergy would not explode the closest orb to you. Frozen Retreat, also grants Major Expedition for 8 seconds after teleporting, renamed it Icy Escape. Hidden Refresh, this prompt is now visible to allies under 70% health, up from 50% health. Increase the movement speed bonus to 70% from 50%. Movement speed bonus and heal over time are now separate components from the invisibility bonus and will remain on your character for 4 seconds regardless if invisibility is broken or not. Impale Dark Talons morph. Now only damages enemies hit within the talons instead of all enemies around you. Increase the damage done by approximately 25%. Okay, so the synergy. Renamed to Ignite. Since this synergy now specifically hits enemies held within talons, we've increased the damage it deals to compensate. Okay. Inner Fire. The prompt is now only visible to allies positioned further than 18 meters away from the taunted enemy. Okay. Spawn Broodlings, Black Widow, Arachnophobia, Trapping Webs. The prompt is now only visible to allies positioned further than 18 meters away from the webbed enemy. We've changed some synergies such as Spawn Broodlings or Radiate to only be available to ranged players. This balances the amount of synergies available to both melee and ranged players. Okay. So this is going to be like a range DPS skill. Alright. The prompt will now be available against all enemies within the webs, even if they cannot be snared. This means that the prompt will be available against boss or flying enemies. The Spiders Summon now inherit your damage done bonuses, such as Major and Minor Berserk or Mighty Champion passive. Fix an issue where the Spiders Summon would throttle their attacks against the same target. They will now use their bite as quickly as they are able to. Alright, Summon Storm Atronach. The Atronach summoned by this ability and its morphs now inherit your damage done bonuses. Okay. So an already good ultimate's a lot better now. Atronach now uses the highest of your magic or stamina based stats instead of using an average of your magic and stamina based stats. Wow. This will result in higher damage done for magic or stamina builds, but may result in less damage done for hybrid build. Who's running a hybrid build? Literally nobody. So you just made an ultimate that was already really hard hitting, that was already a pain in the ass, like in a dueling situation, and you made it a lot better. Okay. Atronach summoned by this ability is summoned charge Atronach morph now lasts for 18, 19, 20 seconds, up from 15. There was literally no need for this. There was absolutely no need for any of this, in my opinion. Atronach was already a good ultimate. It was already a very good ultimate. It really wore down the one person closest to you, really beat on them. It was doing lightning damage. You know, all that's good for a Sork. You could kite around it. You know, it could get in your way. You could accidentally drop ultimates on it instead of the Sork. Like, it had a bunch of other buffs outside of the damage. Not a huge fan of that. And it was also cheap. It was also really cheap. You could just drop it, you could have it up, and then you could drop it again. And now they increased the chances for that to happen because they increased the duration by 3 seconds. Alright. Block cost. Increase the base cost of block to 1730 from 2160. Decreased. I'm sorry, I said increased. Decrease the base cost of block to 1730 from 2160. Okay, jewelry enchantments that reduce the cost of block are now subtracted from this base cost first, then percentage reductions to the block cost are applied. This means stacking jewelry enchantments and block cost reduction passes will now be less effective than before. Okay, so I talked about it a little bit in my last videos, and I didn't want to talk about it a whole lot, but with how this, there are other people that have talked about this, and there are a few people on YouTube that have posted it and figured it out, but you can have zero block cost, or pretty damn close to zero block cost, with how the current setup is. And it's not hard to do that, or you can basically get it to a point to where your reduced block cost is lower than the amount of sustain you get from the Constitution passive, which makes it perma-block builds viable. And it's perma-block builds are an issue across every class. Stamina DKs have the ability to abuse it quite a bit more, but block casting, Magic, and Templars are also an issue. How it was working is you get your reduction from sturdy, and you get your reduction from your CP tree, and then it would take it from 2160 down to, like, 600 or 700 or 800 or whatever, and then the 200, the block cost on your jewelry is 203, and it's a flat number, so it adds to the 20, just straight subtracts. So the other ones are a percentage, and they have diminishing returns, but then you get the smaller number, and then you take 203 from that. What this is saying is, before you do that, so you'll have 1730 if you put 3 reduced block cost enchants on your character. I think it's 201, not 203. So it'd be 40, 402, 603. 603 reduced block costs, so then you'll have 1127 reduced block cost with the 3 reduced block enchants. And then if you put 25% into your CP tree, that's roughly, you're going to be roughly around 800 block cost, which is a lot better than what you were at before. I don't think that's enough, though. I don't think that's enough. I think they still messed it up. Unless they did something else. We've lowered the base to ensure that all builds can easier time blocking attacks without being completely drained of stamina. We've also changed block cost jewelry enchantments to work similar to Magic stamina cost reduction jewelry enchants. Builds utilizing those enchantments and other were too effective at keeping block up. Finally, we've buffed Ancient Knowledge so that it is comparable to Fortress passive. Okay. Oh, I read it wrong. Jewelry enchantments that reduce the block cost. The cost of block are now subtracted from this base cost first, then percentage reductions to the cost of block are applied. No, I said it right. Okay. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna do some math on this. I won't waste your guys' time with the math yet. I don't wanna say something and be wrong, but I don't think this is enough. Yeah, I'm almost certain this isn't enough. So I think it's still going to exist. I think it's still going to be a big issue. Yeah. I've probably already said too much. Heavy attacks and off balance. Using a heavy attack against an off balance enemy will now only consume the off balance debuff if the enemy is successfully stunned. This means that using a heavy attack against an off balance boss enemy will not consume the off balance effect, as bosses are immune to crowd control effects. This new behavior also applies to the Power Lash ability. You can use Power Lash on an enemy until the off balance effect is expired or consumed. Cool. Using a heavy attack against an off-balance enemy player, the character will now stun them in the same way that it stuns monsters. This new behavior also applies to the Power Lash ability. You can use Power Lash to stun enemy players. Cool. It makes Magic and DK stronger, quite a bit stronger. Using a fully charged heavy attack against an off-balance enemy will now restore double the amount of resources. Very cool. So that set that we talked about before, you know, where you do the full heavy attack and it does 12,000 physical damage, you're setting them. Wow. Okay. Boss enemies can only be set off balance once every 15 to 20 seconds. After the first off balance debuff ends on a boss enemy, they will be immune to subsequent off balance debuffs until this immunity duration is over. Okay, off balance visual effects are now larger and more prominent if the enemy has a larger model size. Your ground base area effect abilities will now persist after you leave combat rather than being removed immediately. We've changed the way off balance debuff works in dungeon and trial situations so that there is more consistency for all groups in how the debuff is applied and used. Heavy attacks and abilities such as Flame Lash no longer immediately consume the off balance debuff against bosses, so you don't penalize your group for capitalizing on an off balance opportunity. We've also significantly increased the resource you receive when you heavy attack an off balance enemy, so builds that have sustain issues now have a clear window of time to fill their magic and stamina bars back up. Finally, bosses are now immune to the off-balance debuff for a short period of time. This makes heavy attack usage more strategic, as there is a limited amount of time during the fight when its usage is optimal. Alright, so this puts magic DKs back in play for trial situations, basically. You know, they're kind of an issue, and that's why people weren't running them. Now you can run them again. Cool. Nightblade, Assassination, Teleport Strike. Decrease the damage dealt by this ability and its morphs by approximately 13%. We've decreased the damage values on numerous gap closer abilities, not just Teleport Strike, but other charge abilities such as Critical Charge or Focus Charge as well. Gap closers in ESO have no cooldown and can hit for extreme amounts of damage, so there's very little opportunity cost in forcing your enemies to use them. Decreasing their damage ensures that ranged players utilize movement and terrain to maintain their distance are better rewarded for that advantage. Okay, I like that change. Templar Agic Spear, Focus Charge. Decrease the damage of the topple, puncturing strikes. Refactor the damage done by this ability in its morph so it works more intuitively with damage taken bonuses on the enemy. Previously, puncturing strike bonus damage to the closest enemy would be additive with damage taken bonuses such as minor vulnerability. Okay. Weapon, two-handed critical charge, reduce the damage. Critical rush, decrease the damage bonus on distance traveled by this morph to 40% from 68%. Okay. Stampede, decrease the duration of the snare applied by this morph to 4 seconds from 8 seconds. Thank you, Zenimax. Thank you. One-handed shield, decrease the damage dealt by this ability and its morphs by approximately 20%. Werewolf Pounce, decrease that. Assault, Magic Adet, reduce the cast time of this ability and inevitable detonation morph to 1.5 seconds from 1.8 seconds. Okay. General, fix an issue where stun animation from sneak attack was showing on the enemy before your weapon or attack visually hit them. Nightblade Shadow, Veiled Strike, fix an issue where this ability its morphs would stun and set an enemy off balance even if they could detect you with detect potions. Cool. Templar Dawn's Wrath, Backlash, fix an issue where multiple Templars using this ability and its morphs against the same target would not deal the full amount of intended damage. Okay. Radiant Oppression, fix an issue where the execute bonus damage and magic bonus damage from its morphs were not multiplicative with each other. This fix will result in higher damage done with this morph. Okay, good. So yeah, Radiant Oppression was kind of an issue, especially for PVE DPS. It's going to strengthen it a decent amount. I still think it's going to be in a good spot. Heavy Armor, Unstoppable. Fix an issue where this morph was increasing the duration of the skill by a lower amount than intended for each piece of heavy armor worn. Alright, Rapid Maneuvers. Okay. Racial, Imperial Skills. Fix an issue where this passive would display a generic icon in your buff trackers when it triggered. Alright. Itemization, fixes and improvements. Item sets. Soulshine, fix an issue where this item set bonus was not applying to the Solar Barrage morph, so Dark Flare. Oh, Solar Barrage is the other morph. Storm Knight's Plate, fix an issue where this item sets 2 and 3 piece bonuses were granting a lower amount of spell resistance than intended. Lion's War in PvP, increase the length of time alien well buffs last in Cyrodiil to 30 minutes from 10 minutes. Alright, that's a nice little change. Imperial NPCs in Cyrodiil now have a chance to drop keep repair kits and other consumables. Cool. Art and animation. Fix an issue, caused larger player characters to not appear in higher resolution until you got very close to them. Fix an issue where monsters, okay, combat and gameplay, monster abilities, Nightblade, crafting and economy, crafting motifs, consumables. Where's the lag stuff? Zenimax, where is it? Housing, furnishing, quests and zones, UI, Collectibles, crafting, gamepad mode, gameplay. Alright, so the biggest gist is it looks like most of the armor sets in Cliff's initial reactions is these changes are good. They need to address the PvP lag performance. The kickouts from last patch really kind of deterred quite a few people. They need to work on that. Obviously, Cyrodiil is an ever untouched thing where they're not addressing how people zerg, but providing no AOE caps is going to be a huge change in how you combat those large groups. You know, you're still going to run across the 60-man groups where there's not much you can do, and that's just the way it is. But your siege is going to be more effective now. They're going to take more damage. That means the other team has to heal more. Your AOE, your Destro ultis, your AOE abilities are all going to be a lot more effective. So you're going to be more effective in fighting those bigger groups. I think that's a very good change for Cyrodiil as a whole. Hopefully they address those other things. As you guys know, this is the first patch notes. They don't always come out with everything on the first one. This isn't guaranteed to be what it is. I like the cooldown on revives. I like the cooldown on cast time. Like I said, the new sets are pretty damn cool. I think most of them are something that I'm going to want, and so I'm gonna have to farm it. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what the synergies do from a PvP perspective, but I think those are good changes for PvE in general, and the off-balance changes are really good for people that want to play Magic at DKs in a PvE situation. So won't take up any more of your time, guys. I think this is a pretty good start. I know I messed up some parts. You get 45 or 30 minutes into reading this stuff, and you get your brain gets a little twisted. So if I said anything wrong, please provide a correction in the comments below, and I'll make sure to put it to the top of the list and make sure people have the right information, because that's how we, as players that are informed on this stuff, this is how we get our edge. We read, we see what the changes are, we adapt, and we overcome the changes. We'll figure out ways to make our builds even better and stronger next patch. That's kind of what reading through these are for. So thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.